name is Rudolf Pint. I'm the Salvage Master with Smith Salvage. It is my responsibility to make sure that this operation on site happens safely and that we execute as per our contract and reach the goals set to us in our contract and ultimately by SAMSA as our final client.
Currently, what exactly are you required to do since your arrival there?
So since we have arrived, we took oversight from the previous company. Big thing was our focus is purely on fuel and oil removal, and then also to stabilize the vessel to try and keep her in one position. Unfortunately, the weather is not playing the game with us, and the weather, we had a big front come through last weekend. It severely affected the vessel and the condition of the vessel, so we had to adjust our plans accordingly.
You talked about offloading fuel. How much of it have you managed to offload so far, given the conditions, especially the weather conditions that you've had to deal with?
So we only had 1 day of weather so far that we managed to actually do any pumping. We managed to remove 8 cubic meters of marine diesel oil. Unfortunately, we were not able to even start pumping on the heavy fuel oil or the very low sulfur fuel oil, sorry, not heavy fuel oil, because that requires us to heat it up to 50 degrees Celsius before we can actually pump it. And we were still mobilizing our equipment as per our contract, and then the weather came through and changed the situation. So at the moment, we were not able to heat it up yet. We had the PSV shore tide that's got all our equipment for heating and pumping the very low sulfur fuel oil on board. Only arrived on site this morning as per our schedule, and now we will attempt to further our operation and to reach our goals.
And that would involve transferring the fuel to the PSV?
That is correct. So on the PSV is a boiler. So we drill holes into the vessel, into the tanks. We gain entry into the tanks. We then put a heat exchanger, or basically heating coil, into the tanks. We then supply hot water from the boiler that's on board the PSV via hoses to the ship, where we heat up the fuel or the oil. That can take quite a while, can take up to 48 hours to get it to a pumpable temperature, which is 50 degrees Celsius. And once it's pumpable, we will then pump the oil back along using a pump back to the PSV to go into the dirty oil tanks.
And how much fuel are we talking about here?
We are talking of reported of 320 tons of very low sulfur fuel oil and approximately 160 tons of marine diesel oil.
And how long should the weather allow you to do so? How long would that take you?
How long is a piece of string? There's a lot of things that's got to be prepared in order to get that executed. We need a good weather window of at least 5 days before we can just be ready to start pumping, to set up the heating and all of that. So it's quite a big weather window. At the moment, we're getting 1 day here, 1 day there, but we need continuous good weather in order to execute our plan. And at the moment, the cold fronts are stacking up. Every 2-3 days, we are getting a front. The swell conditions is not allowing us, firstly, safe access, and then also any kind of access to install the equipment on board to execute the pumping.
Worst case scenario, what's your plan B in the event that the weather plays foul again?
If the weather plays foul and further damages the ship, we will have to readjust our plans accordingly. At the moment, we have to make plans with the facts in hand. And so we always work with the current facts, but we always have a plan B and a plan C that we're busy working on the background. There is a big risk that the ship might completely break apart and then spill some more oil, which will be the last oil, because we've already lost 2 fuel tanks due to the weather that the ship has cracked and spilled that oil. It was safely recovered on the beach, and that recovery went very well. We also need to consider, or we're very fortunate that this part of the coastline where we are at the moment is in an active mining area where they do sand mining. So once we have cleared the area, the mine will come in. They will clear the whole beach of sand as part of their mining process. And then the sea will recharge the whole beach again with brand new sand. In about 6 months, she will be completely brand new. So we are fortunate in an unfortunate situation that it happened here, where we've got almost a sacrificial beach. Nobody wants to see oil on the beach, but if it has to happen, this is probably the best place for it to happen.
Just one last question. In terms of cooperation with local authorities, including the South African Maritime Safety Authority, how is that working for you?
It is going very well. We obviously, as Smith Salvage, have got a very long relationship with South African Maritime Safety Association. So we work very well with SAMSA. We feel there's open and complete communication between us. The demands that we get is discussed, and I think it's a very open and honest discussion between Smith Salvage and SAMSA, and I think the communication is going well, and it's really positive.
Sir, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.